Can you speak to the roster now? What some of your offseason priorities are? There's the potential to be some significant changes within the roster with expiring contracts and potential for free agency.
Right, and Orlando, I can't go into specifics due to league rules, but I can tell you that 4 of our 5 starters are under contract long term or with a year left, so that's encouraging. We made the Norman Powell trade, hoping that he'd be a long-term part of our future. And the way the league is anymore, quite honestly, other than rookie scale guys, there's just a lot of turnover in players, 8 through 12, 10 through 15. It's just a product of where the league is right now. So, there'll be turnover in the roster. Obviously the coaching change right now is of most immediacy, preparing the owner for our potential candidates, but we're also working concurrently on free agency, trades and roster building in advance of the June 20th Chicago Combine.
From a personnel perspective, do you feel like there's things that this team needs, and how do you go about acquiring those things, particularly without draft pick this year?
Well, we don't play our draft picks anyway, so I don't know how much the draft pick is going to impact anything.
Fair enough.
But, and that's why we used it last year, for Robert. I mean, we ended up with a guy who finished 7th in the league in on-off rating. For guys that played over 2,000 minutes, Robert Covington was ranked 7th in on-off rating. That's the kind of impact he made because we're trying to win right away, Casey. Look, I love the draft. I think we've had some big hits. We've had a couple of misses, but I think if you look at our roster, I think a lot of the impact we've made has been through the draft, but we're in a different phase right now. We're trying to win. It's not easy to win and continue to get better every year, strictly through personnel, because your options are limited. Players make more money. Your draft picks are later. You don't have as much money to spend in free agency. You have guys you value, so you don't necessarily enter the trade market moving pieces as often. But look, we're going to have to continue to find ways to get better. That's what we do. I mean, every year, I think if you look at this year, we entered the draft, and instead of drafting 16th, we went out and got Robert. We used our mid-level for a defensive specialist in Derek Jones Jr. When that wasn't working at the level we hoped, we went and got Norman Powell at the trade deadline, who finished as our 2nd best defender on the roster in terms of net rating, behind only Nurk. So, it's an evolving process. It's always fluid. We want the coaching staff to make an impact, but obviously there's an obligation on our end to continue to build the roster and help it grow. And the fact that maybe we're limited in terms of avenues we can follow because of salary commitments or lack of draft picks just makes it a little bit more challenging.